All right, here's your PowerPoint notes on interest groups. One of the main objectives here is to look at interest groups and how they influence elections, politicians, all the policies and laws that are made, and the different resources that they use to affect these elections. One of the questions to look at is, why do levels of participation and influence in politics vary? So why do some groups have more power? And how effective are their methods in their political participation? The interest group is a private organization that tries to persuade public officials, make them respond to their attitudes. Again, in most interest groups only have one issue that they're really concerned with, rather than like a politician who has to be concerned with everything. Their role then is to influence public policy, so they pressure different groups, they lobby, they pressure committees, they have clubs, associations, federations to support different types of people. They're usually everywhere in any type of public forum or policies that are being created. The biggest thing to know is the difference between a political party and an interest group. Political parties, their main goal, as we talked about, is to nominate candidates for office. They want to win those elections, and then they run the government, so they want to control government. They also concentrated on who's, the concerns of the voters, not just one issue, but everything. So how can I fix your taxes and build you this new road? And those are the ones that are held accountable by the public. Interest groups, again, try to affect the elections by promoting candidates that they support. They try to influence different policies that help their interest group and the people that they're supporting. And usually it's only one issue. Most likely they're a private organization that don't have to be accountable to the people. So one thing to think about then, are interest groups a positive or negative for the United States government? They're valuable because they get people thinking. They raise awareness on different issues that they find important, that could be very important. They unite people all over the country. So if it's one issue and you are concerned with that on the West Coast, there are people in the same type of interest group on the East Coast. They also provide information. So they do the studies, the research, and politicians will use that to influence their policy making. They connect people to the government. Again, it's a linkage institution. They provide a check on some of these politicians. They can remind people that this is the way they were going to vote and they hadn't voted, or this is what needs to be passed. And there's also competition. There's multiple interest groups for the same issue, or there's interest groups on different sides of an issue. So overall, for the collective good, it's something that benefits both the members and the potential group. It's a role of the interest group. Again, it could be like a union bargaining for better wages, better working conditions. However, this helps non-union members, so it's helping everyone. Some of the criticisms is that they have too much power. For example, a lot of people say the NRA has too much power. They have too much influence in elections and on politicians. And sometimes it's hard for interest groups to tell, for the people to tell who actually they're representing. So, for example, they're called grassroots organizations. They look like they're by the people. They look like, or not grassroots, sorry, astroturf groups, where they look like they're for the people, that they're fighting for the people, but they're actually fighting maybe for big business. So it could be the people of this, or when they're fighting for the Chamber of Commerce, that's actually a lot of business people fighting for business rights and making it harder for people to sue companies. And sometimes they don't represent all the people they claim that they do. And there's sometimes corruption, a lot of money going around, maybe just using money to push their agenda. One of the examples is called the free rider problem. The larger the group, the more free riders there are going to be, so people just kind of jumping on board. Teachers unions with teachers that don't belong. So again, I'm just part of the union. You can just be part of the union or not even support the union, but again, if they're negotiating a raise, you're going to benefit from it. Roles that they play, they influence Congress. Again, contributions, access to Congress members all the time. They're trying to build trust with them, providing them info so that the Congress people feel supported and they feel confident in what they're discussing when it comes to legislation. Lobbying is a key term we should know. Pressuring of legislators by interest groups to get things done. They want to lobby their agenda. They want to lobby the bureaucracy in the Congress. Again, iron triangles we'll talk about to get things done. So you're lobbying all these different areas and they're working against each other, for each other to get things done. It can also influence the judicial branch by litigation, so using the court system to change some policies. Again, example would be like Brown versus Board. Amicus curiae briefs, which means friend of the court. You're writing an argument that supports one side of the case. So if something's going to the Supreme Court, you're going to say we support this decision. There's also class action lawsuits, so lawsuits permitting a small number of people to sue on behalf of all of these other people. Again, if you are affected by something, maybe an interest group will then bring a lawsuit because they have the resources. Also then supporting small judicial appointments, like promoting someone to be appointed, or there's also judicial elections in states. Iron triangles then. Iron triangles are alliances. We've discussed this a little bit between bureaucrats and the bureaucracy, interest groups, and the congressional subcommittee members, so different committees within Congress, and they promote different common causes. It's the relationship between those three. I can see the arrows go both ways, whether it's funding and political support or maybe some regulation, also oversight, and interest groups are always trying to lobby. There is an idea, though, of the revolving door. So many politicians will leave government work for an interest group. They know the inner workings of government, so they become a better worker for the interest groups. Like a lot of times they're going to make more money as well. So if they lose maybe a re-election, they'll enter into an interest group because they know the kind of the inner workings. But also, most people will leave because they're going to make a lot more money. Here's just an example of how an interest group, a subcommittee, and a bureaucracy would work as far as maybe tobacco goes. Campaign contributions from an interest group to a committee, or then maybe they're passing legislation affecting tobacco farmers. An interest group will inform the industry to the bureaucracy, while the bureaucracy maybe will have some rulings on tobacco production and prices that will help these interest groups. The bureaucracy will help with different constituent complaints for the Congress people, and the committees will help approve a budget that will help the bureaucracy. This concept is somewhat tied to an issue network, then. A network that consists of people in interest groups, on congressional staffs, different agencies. There's also universities, media involved. They all debate the issue. So there's one issue, but there's many more players rather than just the three in the iron triangle. So if you take a look, here's multiple players when it comes to the idea of tobacco. You have your interest group still, you have your agency still, and your congressional committee, but then you have individuals working at universities, the media covering it, local government, and it could be multiple interest groups as well.